What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Winners Win podcast presented by iKon Boats and brought to you by your host, Braden Cox. Today, we're joined by the Bassmaster College Series champions on Sam Rayburn. We're joined by Trevor Johnston and Ashton Hehr. Congratulations, guys, on your win on Sam Rayburn. And I'm sure that's awesome to bring that back to Texas A&M and had to feel pretty good to get that win against such a stout college field over on that Lunkers trail.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Thanks. It was a special time.
I believe it. How does it feel to get that big of a win under your belt?
I don't know.
I still can't believe it.
Hasn't quite sunk in yet still. I don't think it will.
Was that your guys' first big win?
Definitely first big one. We have like a collegiate bass trail Texas, which is like a smaller little scene. We won one of those in the spring, but that's definitely the biggest one by a long shot.
Yeah, like I said, that college field's super stout group of guys, and how they split it up this year with the Legends and Lunkers Trail is pretty cool to see more guys getting able to jump in those fields and kind of get some of those tournaments a little closer to some guys like you guys being from Texas. I mean, it was so far to go to some of those tournaments in the previous years where you're looking at a lot more east than it used to be, and now to have that other trail, I'm sure it was nice to have actually a big college tournament in your home state. There aren't too many of those that come around.
Yeah, no doubt. It was nice to not have to go, 12 plus hours for once.
100%.
Right.
I agree with that one.
Yeah, I believe it. So before we get too far into this, just for anyone that doesn't know who you are, just tell me a little bit about yourself. Obviously, introduce yourself. Tell me where you're from. Maybe what your home lake is. You guys are obviously both from Texas A&M, so tell me your grade, your major, and then one thing I always like to ask is if you guys could only fish with one bait for the rest of your life, what would that be?
Okay, so I'll go first. My name is Ashton Hehr. Obviously, I go to A&M. I'm going to be a senior from the Woodlands, Texas, so it's kind of like North Houston area. My home lake is Conroe, which I'm actually on right now. Just went out this afternoon. And then I'm majoring in business management. So it's kind of crazy. It's flown by. I've fished on the team all 4 years. I've been an officer for 3 years. And if I could throw one bait for the rest of my life, I think after Rayburn and after these past few months, I'd have to throw a finesse jig for the rest of my life, or a jig of some sort. So that's my pick.
That's good. Yeah, I'm also a class of 25, going to be a senior this year. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I'm an ag leadership major with a business minor, but I think I want to be a commercial pilot. Same with Ashton, been on the team since I was a freshman. That's how we met. We've been fishing together the whole time. He's the president this year, and I'm social media for the team. Team has grown a lot the last, since we've been at A&M. So we're excited to see where it goes.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you is about your team dynamic at A&M. How many teams do you guys have? Do you guys have a coach? How do you guys do your funding? Is that something you guys all do by yourself, or sponsors help, or do you get any help from the school? Just talk to me a little bit about your guys' dynamic there at Texas A&M.
So when we first started the team, or when we first joined our freshman year, the team was completely different. I think we only had probably 10 to 15 teams, if that. And it was very unorganized. We kind of went through a transition period these last few years. In this past season, we had 44 people on the team, so 22 boats. And in this upcoming season, we're expected to have over 50 people on the team. So it's the biggest the team has ever been. We are steadily growing in all aspects. Media, we have one of the largest social media followings now, thanks to Trevor, who does great on that. Financially, again, just on the up. And Trevor, I'm going to have you explain that a little more on kind of how we work with A&M and work with the school.
Yeah, I assume it's like y'all, all public schools that we've talked to. We don't have a coach. We've got an officer team of, I think, 8 guys that kind of lead the team. We can apply to get money, but we don't bank on or usually get any money from A&M at all. We've definitely grown the relationship with the school the past few years since we've just gotten so big, gained some more recognition. But we usually get all the money through the team, sponsors, and out of our own pockets.
Yeah, that's, like you said, very similar to us at Ohio State, where we don't get a ton of help from the school actually at all. Like you said, kind of you can get some from the school, but don't bank on it very much, and a lot of sponsorship and stuff that you guys do. I know Ashton mentioned Trevor, that you've grown their social media a lot. Has that been something? I know you have a pretty big following yourself. on your personal accounts. Is that something that you were able to bring over to the A&M
Yeah, I hope
social
so.
media and help grow you guys there?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope I've been able to do that. I mean, I'm super passionate about the team and social media, so um, Ashton's a huge help. Ashton's got some good edits, and Ashton's got like 225K on TikTok. He may not tell you, but he's too. So we've had some guys help.
Yeah, I think Trevor, correct me, but how many followers did we have when you took it over?
Like
2,000?
2,500 maybe.
And now I looked the other day, we're at 8,500, 8,500. So just in the few short years Trevor's done it, he's done a great job.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference when it comes to sponsors and everything, as you guys know. Just to get that 8,500 for a college bass team is pretty dang good. I mean,
Yeah.
all things considered. So that's awesome. Like I mentioned before, how they college bass switched to that Legends Trail and the Lunkers Trail. Did you guys fish the whole Lunkers Trail this year, or did you just jump in Sam Rayburn since it was in the home state?
I fished all of them. Ashton wasn't able to fish all of them, but I fished um, one different. I fished Douglas with somebody else, another guy on the team, and then Clarksville with somebody else, and then Ashton and I always fished together in Texas, and I think we're gonna fish all the Bassmaster next year. So we just like switched back to Sam since it was in Texas.
That's cool. How did it feel to win the last tournament of the year? Like, were you already qualified before
No,
that, or was that actually qualified and got the win in the same tournament? That's super cool.
qualified and got the win. We did.
Yeah.
We did decent. Like we would have like six. Like I think we got Clarksville. We got like I don't know 70th. Douglas we got like 50th. So not super close to qualifying, but so no, we didn't qualify, and then that was our goal. We're like, dude. I mean, obviously you want to win, but you
Yeah.
don't expect to against those guys. It's just so tough. We're like, let's just try and qualify. It's our home lake. It's our home state, but we both like hate that lake.
I
We said coming
can't
in.
stand that lake. Even now, even after the win, I cannot stand it still. I wouldn't get like if there was a tournament tomorrow, I'd be miserable.
That's hilarious. Go from a place that you guys both hate in the state to getting the win, and then still, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool that you're super cool. You're able. I mean, two respectable finishes in the rest of the trail, but to actually get the opportunity to win, I mean, that's something that a lot of guys really obviously strive to do, and to be able to do that's awesome. So, are you excited for the Natty at Hartwell? It's gonna be something that's way different from what we fish. Obviously, different from Texas. I don't know if you've been over there before. Or...
Yeah, I guess the closest I've been was Clarksville in South Carolina. So, I mean, we're definitely not familiar with the whole spotted bass deal. So,
Yeah.
I don't know what to expect. We'll see, especially with only 3 days of practice that they're giving us. So, it'll be interesting.
I'm in the same boat. One thing I'm excited about is we had two other teams, or three or two teams qualified, Trevor.
Two other teams.
Two other teams. So we got a good group of guys, and they're all our buddies, obviously, on the team. So it'll be pretty fun, obviously. But yeah, I'm excited. I've never fished anything like that lake, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be super cool. I went, what was it, last year for the ACA National Championship, and I didn't figure it out then at all. But I'm excited to go back. It's something that's a lot different, obviously, than either of us fish, and doing that whole, like you said, the whole spotted bass deal. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just any of those herring lakes just get me confused, honestly. I
Yeah.
don't get it, but we're gonna try to figure it out, right?
Yeah, we'll do it. So, did you qualify?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, we won our state championship the week before, and like you said, same situation. Like, I hate that lake. I still hate that lake. But yeah, no, we'll be there, and yeah, I'm excited. But talk to me a little bit about your before you even showed up to the lake, like your pre-practice prep for this tournament. Obviously, an in-state lake for you guys that I'm assuming both of you guys had obviously been to multiple times before this tournament, so a little bit more familiar with it. Just talk to me about how you approach this tournament, kind of what you thought the fish would be doing, how they set up before you even showed up to the ramp for practice.
I mean, I thought it was going to be a brush pile tournament coming in. That lake in May is just kind of known for being a brush pile deal. But with the lake coming up, we started watching the water level as the tournament was coming. And like, I don't know if it's going to be a pile deal anymore. We thought it was going to be one up shallow, which I guess it was. We were shallow, but not fishing on the bank.
Yeah, I'd pretty much say the same thing. I've fished Rayburn since high school. I fished all 4 years of high school at Rayburn, and then Trevor and I actually fished the MLF there in September or August. I can't remember. And we're just a few spots off of qualifying, so we have a lot of history there. But we've never done super well, or obviously never qualified there. Um, so going in, I think one thing we wanted to do was kind of erase all of the memories of the past, all that, and just look at it as a new lake. And like Trevor said, with the water rising, it kind of threw us a curveball. And I was expecting small limits to be caught up shallow, and those bigger limits to come out deeper, scoping or whatever. But we were lucky to figure it out.
Yeah, how high was that water? Because I saw pictures. It looked pretty well up into the bushes.
2 feet, maybe, Trevor. 2 feet high.
Oh, I think by the end of the week it was more like 5.
Yeah, it was high.
And it still is.
It looked like it from. It still is now.
Yeah, we've still been getting so much rain.
Yeah, that's crazy. That definitely changes things up a lot when all that water gets up in the bushes.
Yeah.
So then, did you guys end up practicing? How many days did you guys practice? I know that there's the off limits period for a couple of weeks before it, but did you take your whole practice period? And kind of just walk me through starting your first day of practice until the tournament, how your practice went, how it progressed, what you guys figured out. I know in one of the interviews I heard you guys say you found one of your best spots very last minute in practice. So just talk me through all of that and how you ended up figuring it out and kind of what you thought going into the tournament from that point.
Yeah, so we had 5 official days of practice, but that's what you're banking on having. But with all the thunderstorms we were getting, I'd say we only got 2.5 days. Like I think everyone got 2.5 days because everyone had to get off. I think there's one day we only fished for 2 hours because that lake gets bad fast. It's the second biggest lake in Texas, so you don't want to mess around with old Big Sam. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple days we fished the west side a lot just because that's what we know. We've never fished the east side, which is what we ended up fishing in the tournament, and caught a lot of like max of 12-pound limits. Fishing bushes, fishing offshore. I mean, we tried to push the offshore deal because that's what we thought it was going to be doing. And like a bunch of people, we were catching a bunch of fish in the bushes, but nothing big. And we just knew. I think the key kind of defining moment was when we're not going to find a magic stretch of bushes. Like, I don't think it's going to happen. So that time we said, okay, we fished everything we wanted to on the west side. Let's just send it and see what happens on the east side. Not a lot of people fish on that side. I think most people say that 80 to 90% of the tournaments are won on the west arm of the lake. And we just went up there and we launched the boat. Like, I think it was the second to last day of practice. So last full day, we fished the west side of the lake the first half of the day. The second half of the day, we went over to the east side. And as soon as we put the boat in the water, we found one of the 5 spots that we rotated through.
That's pretty cool. So you ended up having 5 spots all on the east side. So was that a pretty pressured area in the tournament, or did most guys end up staying on the west side of the tournament?
I think we saw 1 or 2 boats in the tournament. There was nobody on that other side of the lake. And even, I can tell you nobody was fishing our spots. Nobody. And I think that's what really helped us because it allowed us to save fish, 1, knowing that nobody was going to fish them. And 2, it allowed us to fish more freely because nobody was in that area and nobody was doing what we were doing. Again, even high school boats, locals, I'm pretty sure we saw 2 or 3 boats total in our areas, if that. So that was a big part, is just finding something different. And that's honestly something that we've done well this year, is just finding different things. Like we were talking about our other win on that smaller trail. We just found something different. A stretch, whether it's, a stretch of lily pads is different. Our example for this tournament was just road beds, just something different in the very backs of creeks, getting away from everybody else. So that was really, really helpful in our win.
Yeah, like you said, getting able to get away from the crowd and not have to worry, because I know fishing in those 200 boat college tournaments, it's like you get in some areas and I swear you see 20 boats just around you at all times. You're like, there's no way I can even fish anything to myself. It's like, do I have to race this spot? Is it going to be worth anything? So I know that 10 guys have fished it right after me. So getting away completely on the other side of the lake, of such a big lake already, and getting those fish to yourself, like you said, I'm sure was a huge key to your guys' success. But after practice, did you guys think you had a shot at it? Like, did you guys catch some big ones in practice that really clued you in, or?
I don't think so. Not at all. We had no idea what to expect. Since we kind of figured out that deal the last, the last half day of the second to last day of practice, and we only had until I don't know what it was, noon the last day. Um, we fished stuff fast. Like we got, I think we caught two big ones on the last day, so maybe the second to last day and the last day. So obviously we catch one at this. I mean, there's super isolated spots, so we'd catch one and leave because we needed to find as much as we could that was like that. So we just kind of run and gun the whole day, fish as much as the east side as possible, and we caught some small fish off some other spots that we needed to check, and then two big ones, but we didn't know what the potential was. If they're the lucky fish, what was going to happen.
Yeah, that's crazy to go from, like you said, not just. It's crazy to go like in practice where you go from catching one fish in a spot and leaving. You're like, well, maybe that was good, maybe it was random, who knows? And going in the tournament, it obviously worked out. So day one, kind of walk me through your day one of the tournament. You launched the boat. Don't really know what to expect at that point, whether your spots were good, if you had random fish, whatnot. And then you ended up playing what you guys have, 19, 14 on day one, sitting in second place. So just talk me through as much detail as you can. Your first day of the tournament, what you guys fished, how it went. Did you catch a ton of fish? Did you only catch 5 fish? Those kind of things.
Yeah. So we got to our first spot, which I really didn't know what to expect, honestly. Like Trevor said, we'd caught fish in our spots, but it was just 1 or 2, and then we'd leave it. And that first spot was pretty good. I think we caught 3 or 4 keepers off of it, with one pretty good one, 3 to 4 pounder. And I thought that spot was pretty good, considering we had caught like 2 fish there in practice. And that spot ended up being our worst spot on tournament day. I don't think we caught a fish off that spot after that. And after that spot, it was just honestly a hammer fest. I mean, we went from spot to spot, just catching fish after fish. Trevor, I don't even know how many fish we caught that day.
Maybe 50.
You can go through. Yeah, I have no idea. But just those 5 spots, just rotating. Again, we didn't really think about leaving fish until our second spot, which ended up being our best spot, which was probably the most unique fishing spot in a tournament I've ever found. So I don't think we mentioned it, but our pattern was road beds and hard spots, shallow road beds and shallow hard spots. And this second spot was a cypress tree with a hard spot around it. I don't know if it was rock, gravel, what, but those fish you had to make the perfect cast every time to get bit. And it was the most unreal spots I've ever seen. And that spot had the most fish and probably the biggest fish on it as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I remember most about that day, was that second spot.
Because we caught, in practice, I think one that was just under 6 on that spot, and we left. I think we caught like 1 or 2 small ones. And then the backside of that cypress tree ended up being the spot. I mean, you had to make the exact cast to get bit, but you'd look on scope in like 2.5 feet of water, and it was just filled with them.
That's crazy to go like such a tiny spot, and there's so many. Are there a lot of cypress trees in Sam Rayburn?
Yeah, especially when it gets high. There's like millions.
Yeah. So end up finding that perfect one that has that weird hard spot circling around it. There's loaded. That's super cool. How did it feel going into day 2, sitting in second? Like, were you nervous? Do you think you could replicate it?
I don't know. It's tough to say because we knew those spots had big fish on them, and we did kind of leave them biting. Once we got to about 20. That spot you're talking about that we found the last like 20 minutes on the last day of practice, we went to that spot the second to last on day 1, and we just kept catching a bunch of like 260, 275. That didn't help us. So we thought we could qualify no matter what, because we could go to those spots and catch at least, I don't know, 15 pounds, which we knew would have us okay. But once we were in second, and we had a dead fish on day one too, which kind of sucked. So we actually had 20 pounds 2 ounces. So we knew that you're in that position, you got to go for the win, not just qualify. So we didn't know what we had. We fished out of this stuff pretty good. We didn't save much other than that one spot. And on day two, I know I was shaking in my boots a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say that first spot, which I said was our worst spot, we went there first on day two again. And the first, 30 minutes to an hour, we didn't get a bite. And it was just dead quiet for that first hour.
Yeah.
We just weren't saying anything. We were getting pretty nervous. But once we started cycling through them, we started catching them like the first day.
Right, that's cool. Back to the first day, I kind of forgot to ask. So you're rotating 5 spots. Do you think it was a lot of bite windows that was letting you guys rotate those spots, or do you think that fish were reloading on those, or how do you think that was working?
I think some of both. We definitely got more bites once we let a spot sit. For 2 hours, however long it took us to get back to it. But I think bite window was huge. Just like Ashton said on the second day, we went to our first couple spots that were the best spots on day one, and we didn't get bit. But then on the first day, I think what gave us a lot of the weight was, I think it was 10 o'clock, we go to that Cypress Tree spot. And I think I caught one about 4.5. And then next cast, I just caught the small one, putting the big one in the live well, and Ashton hooks up to one that was, I think, over 5. So I pretty much doubled up on, 10 pounds on 2 fish.
Yeah, that's nuts. Were the baits you guys threw on day one the same as day two? I know Ashton mentioned that finesse jig and really liking to throw that now. I'm assuming that did a lot of the heavy lifting in that tournament for you guys.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I'm not. Trevor can say the same thing. I don't throw a jig a lot in tournaments. I just don't have confidence in it. And I don't know what made me pick it up during practice. But all throughout practice, we caught fish on it. And I mean, between that and a big worm, we caught every fish on those 2 baits. You were throwing a plum color on that worm, right?
Yeah.
Trevor?
Yeah. Honestly, in practice, I think the big one got more bites than the jig, and bigger bites. That's what we caught the 2 big ones on. And the first day, I'd say it was about equal on day one. But I threw the big one all day. Ashton threw the jig all day. But the second day, I had to pick up the jig because I maybe caught 2 small ones on the big worm, and they were, I don't know why, I don't know how to explain it, but they were on the jig 10 times more than the big one.
Isn't that funny how that happens? Just one day, the next completely switches from half and half to they won't even want to touch it.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying to think about.
Right.
If we didn't figure that out, I don't know what we would have done.
Yeah, if you guys are both throwing big worms day one and getting bites, and day two just completely shut off. You're well, guess not today.
Here you go.
Yeah, that's funny. So then, I know we touched on it a little bit already, but you're sitting in second going into day 2. How did your second day? I know you said it started a little rough for the first hour, and then you started catching fish, rotating those spots. Did you again catch a ton of fish the second day? And did you guys have? When you guys weighed 22.9, I don't know if that was the biggest bag of the tournament or not, but that was a pretty dang good bag. Just looking at the standings, and obviously gave you guys the win. So, did you guys have 5 solid fish? Did you guys have one really big one that kind of put you over that 20-pound mark? And just walk me through how you guys did that day after that first hour. That was a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, definitely after that it picked up. I think we caught about the same, maybe not 50, but I don't know, 35 to 50 fish. Both days we didn't have a fish below, I think the smallest one between both days was a 315. So we had a lot of 3-pounders, and then a 40-pounder put you a long way. But I'll let Ashton talk about how we got the bag the second day.
Yeah, so the second day definitely had better quality, just not as many fish. Like Trevor said, I think we caught probably 30 to 35, which it's a lot. But after that first day, again, just kind of getting nervous during the morning. But the fish that kind of put us over the edge was probably the craziest fish catch of my life. Just throwing the finesse jig on that one cypress tree. Same thing we've been doing all week, or those past 2 days. Nothing special, nothing different, but I got hung on a tree limb, and the jig was dangling in the water. Just the dangle. I've seen videos of it on YouTube. You see clips of it on Instagram, TikTok, where bass come up and smoke it. And sure enough, I don't even know how big it was, 7-pounder came up and smoked it on top. And it was the biggest blow up I have ever heard. I mean, me and Trevor afterward both looked at each other. I mean, if I was looking away and heard it, I would have told you it was an alligator. Like, it was huge. And then obviously we caught that fish. And after that, that fish really set us over the edge. And I remember looking at Trevor and I was like, holy crap, we can win this thing. So that after that fish catch, things were pretty good.
Yeah, I think that fish, I think we had like 15, maybe even less than that going, before that fish. And I think it might have been like 14. I think that fish gave us like a 6-pound call or something. It was nuts. I think that put us about, I think we had 20 and a half after that one. And then, we fished all day, obviously milked our spots as much as possible. We wanted to save anything. And then at the end, we had the one spot we found, the second 6-pounder we caught in practice was our last spot that we fished every day because it was on the way down. And we went there with like, I don't know, hour and a half left. And we said, we're just going to milk this spot, the rest of the day. So we knew we had a chance at the win. We knew we needed to catch one big one. We'd been fishing those spots all day. And I'd say with about 10 minutes before we had to leave, we caught one close to 5 off that road bed that I think we would have won without it. I think it gave us about a 1.5 pound call, and we ended up winning by 2 pounds and an ounce. But once we caught that one, we knew we had a good shot at it.
Right, kind of sealed the deal in your guys' mind, gave you a little bit of peace. I'm sure you were still super nervous going it away and knowing you guys had a bag and were sitting in second. Were you worried at all? I'm sure you were, but were you worried that the guys that were leading day one were going to replicate what they did and you guys were going to fall a little short?
Definitely. Those Tennessee guys can catch them. We talked to them after the tournament, and once we talked to them at weigh-in, we knew they didn't have, they didn't replicate it, but obviously we don't know that. They smoked them the first day, so we didn't know what to expect. We knew we had to go catch a big bag, and I think it was Cade Lipham and Caleb Coleman, the guys that got second. We talked to them after the tournament was over, and they had, 21-7 the second day. So you obviously that against that field, you have to whack them both days to get the win. So yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah, sounds like it. That 7-pounder you guys had to blow up on that while your jig was dangling over that branch. Were you worried about breaking it off, or like, it was still sitting over that tree when you hooked up on it?
Yeah, we got really lucky because when I set the hook, I don't know how the branch, like, it didn't get tangled or didn't get hung up, but as soon as I set the hook, he darted out to deep water, so it didn't get hung up or anything. And I don't even think my line was frayed after we caught him. So we got really lucky.
That's one of those moments where it's like, this might be our time. Like, everything's kind of lining up, meant to be, right? Dangling over the edge of the branch, catch a 7-pounder. That's nuts.
Yeah, I think that's how it has to be. Is when it's your time, it's your time. Like, I think that's how it has to be.
Yeah, especially like you said against that field, it seems like everything has to go almost perfectly in one of those tournaments and a little bit of luck to get to win one of those, and that's kind of sounds like exactly what happened for you guys. That's super cool. But
definitely.
You mentioned a little bit looking on live scope on that cypress tree. Did you guys use scope at all for your win, or was that just something I'm sure you had it on, but I didn't know if that was something you guys actually took advantage of in the tournament?
Yeah, we definitely came into the tournament, people are going to catch them, qualify and win. We're like, okay, people are going to catch them, like we said, piles, and we thought people were going to catch them scoping. That honestly wasn't the deal for us, or I think anybody that we've talked to after. We would use it in practice. We would idle back in a cut to about 10 foot, all the way in the back with the water being up. And once the gas would stop, we'd idle. We'd cut the engine off, and we'd scope around the whole back of the cut. That's the only way you could find it, find those fish and find those hard spots, was to scope it out. Once you get back there, you look for the fish. Obviously, you cast out and you might catch one, and then you feel the hard spot. In practice, if we went back to a spot, we saw fish on it, and like we dragged something, we felt it, we just leave. So we didn't need it to catch them. I think we might have scoped a couple, but I think we would have caught them anyways. I think you just needed it to find them, but you didn't. We wouldn't scope an individual fish.
Yeah, that's kind of what it sounded like. It's cool that you're able to use that to actually find those hard spots up shallow, and
Yeah.
that ended up being so good for you guys to get that win. But this definitely has to be like your most memorable tournament that you guys have won, I'm assuming.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like we've said a bunch of times, getting the win against, it's so hard to win against those college guys, and that it feels so good. And like you said, those Tennessee guys, I know they've been doing super well for a couple of years now, and to have them in the lead after day one is kind of scary for you guys. And I mean, to know what you had, to know you had 1914 day one, which is like obviously a super good bag, and then be able to go do even better day two and come out on top of those guys and come on top of the guys that had 21-7 and everything. That's so cool, and definitely a special tournament you guys will remember. And it's super cool that you guys are going to be seniors this year, so you get a whole other year to fish together. You guys said you're fishing this year together, all the tournaments, or this coming year. That'll be super cool. Hopefully you guys will be able to do that again.
That's the goal.
Yeah, be able to win 2 of them would be something crazy.
No shot. We'll give it all we got, but
well, maybe there'll be another Texas tournament, and it'll end up being one of your guys' home lakes this time.
Let's hope.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, off the tournament a little bit now, kind of about your guys' backgrounds. How did both of you guys get into tournament fishing? Have you been fishing your whole life? Your parents fish? Just kind of how'd you guys get into it? When did you fish your first tournament?
I've been fishing, gosh, as long as I can remember, honestly. I started fishing. I fished my first tournament in 6th grade. It was just a big bass tournament on my home lake, and continued to fish that all throughout middle school, and then high school fished THSBA, which is Texas High School Bass Association. Fished all 4 years of high school, and then junior year I actually got my first boat, which was sick because I had been using other people's boats my whole life. And as soon as I got my boat, I kind of realized, I had to spend more time on the water to actually learn myself how to fish, learn how to find fish by myself, how do graphs work. At that point, scope had just came out, so I was learning live scope, learning how to graph fish offshore, stuff like that. And I mean, I just got to shout out, my parents. My parents, my dad, my family doesn't fish, but they were gracious enough to get me a boat just so I could learn and pursue my passion. And did good in high school, made the state tournament my junior and senior year. And then going into college, obviously fished for A&M. I met Trevor through the team. We fished what was our first tournament? At Toledo. We fished our first tournament in February, and it was snowing the morning of. I'll never forget that. And it's just ever since then, the A&M team has probably been the most fun and the most memorable, obviously, and the most success I've had fishing my whole life. So it's been a blast.
Yeah, I want to say I started fishing like the normal way that you would think. Most people our age, their dad gets them into it. Like Ashton said, my mom and dad are not into fishing. No one in my family got me into it. Actually, my buddy in middle school, we started, going to ponds, fishing for bluegill, and I just got addicted doing that. And then, fishing golf course ponds, all the local ponds just got, absolutely ate up with it. High school comes around. I fished some THSBA, not as much as Ashton did. Didn't really know anybody with the boat. Definitely fished pretty intense THSBA my junior year, but I still didn't have a boat. It was a family friend. Got my boat about halfway through senior year of high school, and I was just fed up with competitive bass fishing. Came to A&M, knew I wanted to fish for the team. That was a huge part of deciding which college I go to. It's not like the team was that amazing back then, but I knew I had potential. My dad went to A&M. And then, through college, met Ashton, met all the guys on the team. Definitely my favorite part of my time at A&M has been fishing with the guys. And yeah, now we're about to graduate. Nuts.
That's crazy, right? I'm the same
Okay.
grade as you guys. Are you guys graduating May?
Yeah.
Or yeah, yes, it's the same for me. So yeah, going into our last season, it goes so fast. Like I feel like we just started. I'm like,
I know.
it's already
Dude,
time
it's
to be done.
insane. It's crazy.
I know. I'm like, dude, this is our last season coming up. Like, that
Yeah.
just sucks.
It's sad,
But-
but it's been special.
Yeah, it definitely has been, especially for you guys getting a win. That's awesome. What's one piece of advice you guys would have for either like younger college kids or maybe high schoolers and junior kids coming, like aspiring to be successful and just kind of accelerate their fishing game, if you would say? Like, what would your one piece of advice be for them coming up in this sport?
I would definitely say, we're on the topic of graduating, I would just say fish as many tournaments as you can, get on the water as much as you can. That's one thing I regret is freshman year. I didn't fish as much as I wanted to. I think Trevor would agree. I wish we could have fished a little more freshman year. And that's what we're telling our freshmen now on our team is the more you fish, the more you're going to get better at it. So just time on the water and fish as many tournaments as you can, even if it's halfway across the country. I really wish I could have fished Bassmaster this year. That's one of my biggest regrets. So just fish as many tournaments as you can.
Yeah, we haven't had until this season. We've been super blessed this season to get this win, get another win. But as you know, it's not always easy. We go through it all to, drive to Alabama, drive to Florida, whatever it may be, and just absolutely stink it up, just suck. That's part of it. We didn't do that good until this spring. So, just put your head down, fish as many tournaments as possible, spend as much time on the lake. I think a big thing for younger kids watching is, learn that technology. It's only going to get more and more. You don't have to, but if you want to compete at the highest level, which neither of us are amazing at or electronics or anything, we're both definitely shallow water fishermen that are being forced to learn to fish offshore and scope and stuff. But yeah.
Like I said, it's definitely not going away, and it's something that you almost have to embrace if you're going to compete on the highest level with everyone using it now, and especially with the advancement of people using it in shallow water even now too. It's hard to compete fishing shallow as a normal shallow fisherman versus someone scoping in shallow. It's so tough. But before we get off here, I want to give you guys both a chance to shout out any sponsors or socials that helped you guys this season.
Yeah, so we got definitely some sponsors that we can't do it without them. Going to all these tournaments, gas, Airbnb, Aggieland Chevrolet, Dakota Lithium, Exotic. What else we got, Ashton?
Lose, Strike King is a big one. We were throwing, obviously, Strike King finesse jigs all week. That's how we won our tournament. Our sponsors have been huge, and we've been lucky to keep our sponsors for next season, which has been cool. We're in the process of that right now, so it's been fun to keep relationships going. Big shout out to Yeti as well. They're another big one of our sponsors, but that's pretty much all I've got.
Yeah, Belleville's another one.
Yep.
They always feed us at some local meat market, and they keep us fed while we going to Bassmaster events and stuff. So
that's super cool. And then where can people follow you, follow both of you guys along on your journeys? And
you got to follow Ashton's TikTok to see his pet bass content. Don't
follow my TikTok. But I would tell you to follow me, but most importantly, follow A&M. Tamu Bass Fishing on Instagram. That I would tell you that's going to be better than following me.
Yeah, same with me. I think even after we graduate, we're excited to see where the team goes. It should be special.
Well, I want to say congrats again one more time for you guys winning, and thanks for joining. It was super fun, and hopefully we get to talk again because you guys won another one.
Let's go. Thanks for having us, kid.
Thanks for having us.